Now, there's a spiritual reason that sometimes you can't stop thinking about someone. And it has nothing to do with you still loving them or wanting to be with them. It can be a signal of an active energetic siphon. And today I'm going to be explaining to you how to sever it. Now, this was something that was never taught in church. It was never taught in therapy. The ancient inverted system that teaches men how to use intimacy, kindness, even God talk, to wire themselves into your auric field as a permanent energy source. This is the teaching about the Qliphoth, the tree of death, and how its shadow is cast not in some hell dimension somewhere else, but in the dynamics of our most draining relationships. It's that feeling that your very life force is being drunk from a straw, almost as if you are in the middle of a battlefield with a wounded man's chaos. And you're supposed to be a sovereign nation. We are the microcosm of the microcosm. So to reclaim your resources, to reclaim your energy, to get rid of the unoccupied space that seems to be unoccupied, but it is, because you can't see the energy. You simply feel the symptoms. Through working with dark goddesses like Sekhmet, Lilith, and Kali, I was able to identify a blueprint. And that blueprint was the blueprint of Eve. Eve is the archetype of fawning. She's the one who was projected upon. Adam blamed her, and she didn't rebel. She didn't speak up. Lilith did, but she didn't. And so religion has this embedded programming that a woman should be the help, the offering, the sacrifice, the martyr, the support system, to stand behind the man and make him great. And then you have hip hop. Hip hop destroyed us on a subconscious level, programming us to believe we were supposed to be ride or die. We were supposed to hang in there no matter what was happening. And so we learned to be the rock in relationships. We learned to be the strength, but our vulnerability was turned against us. See, we were taught that trauma bonding was love, right? But I call this by a different name. I call this energetic fuckery. And there's a precise ritual to end it. So back to what I was saying, have you ever experienced any of these symptoms? Do certain people that you are done with pop up in your dreams? You know, do you run into people that you knew through them at times? Like, these things can happen based on certain astrological positioning, but I study the root of things. I study the simulation, and I wanted to understand what makes warlocks tick. And it was that Qliphothic blueprint that I noticed. So in the story of the Garden of Eden, the tree of life was something that they were not allowed to access. There was an angel put in front of the tree of life, right? But the tree of knowledge of good and evil, they had already accessed. So this contains the information of the tree of death, which is the Qliphoth. Now, if you don't study the occult, that's okay, because I'm here to break it down, make it simple, and teach these metaphysical things in a simple way. But this is a siphoning system. And this is why narcissists on a spiritual level are actually warlocks. If they're women, they will be called a witch or a sorceress. But these are people who drain life force energy from other people because they are disconnected from being able to create their own. Their soul is fragmented, and they are not doing the energetic work to heal themselves. So in the unconscious warlock or the conscious warlock, the outcome is no different. So the rituals that they use is in your relationship dynamics. You don't see them with a cape on, chanting with black candles and cups with communion in it, right? The drinking of blood and the eating of flesh. I mean, just think about these things. This Qliphothic tree of death like energy has been taught through religion. It has been also created in entertainment and in music. So we received it from those two directions. We received it through the workplace, career systems. This is like the entire 3D matrix has been set up to drain the feminine. And so right now the feminine is being called to break these cords, these ancestral bindings, to no longer allow your auric field to be hooked by somebody outside of you. And let me tell you, they love to use sex as a way of putting their cords in you, literally. And so this transmute curses into your wombs. If you look at the statistics of women who are dealing with chronic infections and fibroids and cysts, there's an unholy exchange happening on a physical intimacy level. And even if he's unconscious, it doesn't change the way it affects your body. And this stuff will manifest into your own world, right? And sometimes you may even notice that other women that came after you, you may notice like this strange, like, is he trying to pick women that are kind of like me, or kind of look like me, or dress like me? Like, there's usually a common denominator that you see with men like this. And so if your body has symptoms, some of the red alert symptoms of this siphoning, which I talked about, which is the dreams, them popping up in your head, maybe they cross your mind one day and all of a sudden you get a text message from them. Like, these things happen and it seems like a synchronicity, but this is really how they manipulate energy. This is the energetic theft. And so you will also notice that opportunities will close, doors will close. You will have brain fog, headaches. You will feel like, you will feel crazy because you're like, I know that I don't want to be with this person. Why am I thinking about them? Your finances get destabilized. Like, because when they're using your energy to manifest, because the feminine is what is used to manifest. Think about hip hop. It's all about sparkly chains. That's feminine, the sparkles. It's all about the cars, the aesthetic. That's a very Venusian feminine energy, right? To have these certain looks. And so feminine energy is what's used to be a container to hold creativity, to hold fertility, to birth something else. And so what I found was, every way that I was trying to do old school cord cuttings, egg cleansings, I had done so many things, meditation, breath work, but there was a certain level of depth that I was not reaching. And I felt so powerless at some point, because I was like, I want to cut cords from everybody I have ever been with. Like, literally, I want to be a reborn virgin. You remember we used to say that, for those of us who came through religion, right? And so I had to realize that sometimes you got to fight fire with fire. And I was being called to fight rituals with rituals, right? Because you can't perceive your way out of this. You can't mentally cut the cord and the cord remains cut. And so I created protocols with the goddesses. I worked with them for years before I even created this womb manual. And the spiritual advice that they were giving me to reclaim my energy and my sovereignty, one of them was the morning declaration of sovereignty. And so every single grand rising, I will call to sever all energetic cords of extractions. I will reclaim every piece of my power that I have given away in exchange for false peace, false light, approval, or comfort. And then I went into the body and learned the hip spirals and the somatic exorcism to clear the trauma out that was dumped into my womb space. And to reclaim my voice, I learned to work with the muscles around my jaws. And then I learned to work with Lilith to create boundaries as a law that I lived by. Not something I heard and it sounded good, but I couldn't embody it. And then I learned about, in Kabbalah, how the way that they treat women actually impacts their lives in a major way. And nothing manifests without the feminine, not even life. Every human being has to come through the womb, the portal of the feminine. So there is a sacred flow. But with the tree of death, that flow was reversed. And so these are like cultural wars where they use mental subconscious programming. And so this didn't just, affect women. Men were impacted deeply by this as well. And a lot of them are very disconnected from their own feminine energy. And whenever a man is wounded, has a mother wound, maybe did not have the most loving relationship with his mother, maybe didn't have a healthy father in his life, he, by being disconnected from his own feminine self, he's going to operate in a way that is going to actually take energy away from you, even if he's not trying to. So with the guidebook, Ending Energetic Fuckery, with these protocols that I just shared briefly with you, you can arm yourself with the maps and the protocols connected to certain things that's happening within your body to be able to connect it with the higher consciousness of the divine. And you can choose two paths. You can just do this work alone and just download the ebook if you would like to do it that way. Or you could join the coven and have access to exclusive video content that I will only be posting there, because these severance rituals are a combination of modern things that I have learned and ancient principles as well. And so we don't want our bodies to be a battlefield. The way that stress impacts the feminine, it is 5 times more harmful to us than men. Women are 4 times more likely to leave here because of some form of cancer, which is usually connected to stress and emotional trauma. The autoimmune statistics speak for itself. The level of burnout speaks for itself. So this isn't about finding someone to blame. This is about finding the power that's within yourself to reclaim the access to source, the access to your own life force energy. And though I still deal with fatigue from time to time, it is not half as bad as it used to be before I learned how to sever these energetic cords. And so this severance is from this whole system. So that way you can get rid of any energetic cords left by any partners from your past by focusing on the system and focusing on your own divine energetic blueprint to be able to sever those cords. So I'm going to put all of the links for the coven. You will get the book for only $17 if you join the coven. But the book is like priced really low for this launch right now. This is just temporary. Hopefully you find this video while it's at the lowest price. But, you know, I wanted to make it accessible. And this is simple. It's not a whole lot of work, a whole lot of reading. If you tend to be someone who doesn't have a lot of time, or it's hard to focus your energy for a certain amount of time on one thing, like this is you're really gonna like this, because like in 5 minutes, you can read something, learn a symptom, learn what to do about it, and do it, and move on. And you can build your own system and create your spiritual hygiene routine to keep those cords from reconnecting to you. Because let me tell you, when you really start to disconnect and cut cords, and this is not just with ex-partners, this could be with certain patterns that you have with your career, with your job. You could be a lawyer, you could be someone that works in corporations at a high level, and you're a high level achiever, and you're exhausted from dealing with the system of corporations, which is also very draining on the feminine because it requires you to use a lot of masculine energy. So this can be applied to any aspect of life. I have also used this to apply this to a lot of the trauma that I've experienced with the medical system. And so being able to work with the mind, the body, and the soul level of this, I am approaching this from so many different aspects and levels that I'm not going to leave a stone unturned, and that is the goal. So this isn't just about one thing, but I wanted to talk specifically about what happens to a woman when she goes through an awakening and she has had past partners who were unhealed and were not working on their self, because that becomes an energetic load. And it's no different than when your phone hardly has any space left on it. You see how slow your phone works and how it buffers? That's the body. That's the brain fog. Our phones are like portals, right? And so you know that you got to go in and clear out some space to make room for the new. Otherwise, you're operating not at your peak performance, but you're barely functioning. And a lot of us are out of gas. When I say out of gas, I mean like exhausted to the bone. And there's no amount of sleep, there's no supplement, there's no one thing that works. So check out the links in the description and let me know, like, did anything speak to you? Did you connect the dot? Maybe you didn't before. I would love to hear from you. All right, y'all. Peace.
Yeah. Higher, I take you higher. Higher. Yeah. Yeah. I got this sacred, that sacred fire.